All right, everybody, welcome. We are back. It's the B2B Growth Lab. Today, we're talking about big deals. That's going to be a fun one because you get to define what a big deal is for your business. But the fact is that they do slip and that there are ways to stop it. Often, big opportunities will collapse in the final stages because of a bunch of different missing things, including stakeholder priorities, lack of proof of ROI, or, in my opinion, your failure to map out all the decision makers. The kibosh can come from unexpected places. So today, I think we're going to pick apart how to protect and convert biggest and strategic deals with systems so that you have trust, clarity, conversation. We want to look for things like misalignment. We want to figure out what the priorities are of the leadership and know who they actually are, not who we're speaking to. Be able to present real ROI, mapping the personal motivations behind those stakeholders, and consensus, which, again, I think is going to be a rich one. So, yeah, who wants to start tackling this mess?
I want to throw you a softball, Jacob. Throw you a softball, watch you hit this thing out of the park, right?
Okay.
Let's define what a big deal is. And I see this massive 80-20 at the top of the screen. So is every big dollar deal the big dollar deal we should care so much about preserving? Or garbage customers buying garbage product, the 20, should we just let some of them go, right? Who's a big deal?
So let's take a shot at that logo for a second, because I've reached the customer support for this platform 3 times saying, hey, out of all the things I can do with your amazing platform, swapping out the logo is the most difficult task. Because we have a B2B Growth Lab logo that I'd love to upload and replace with this thing. So, let's call that the T-ball and move on to the softball lob. So, yes, Rob, you probably dealt with the most important issue that people ignore across the board all the time, and they look at deal size and not customer fit.
Yep.
And I think the more zeros behind it, the bigger the hallucination.
Yeah, it's $1 million, right? We got to bid on this. And then you open the RFP and it's packed full of a whole bunch of nitty-gritty detail, right? Like really nitty-gritty detail that looks like maybe it was written with a product spec right next to it, right? And it's not your product spec, but boy, that $1 million, surely that's worth 40 hours of my team's time, right?
Right.
Nope. Put that puppy in the 20.
Yeah, 100%, especially if you win it and then you find out it's 4 million hours.
Right.
Right. And you're down to $4 an hour across the board.
Right. You devalued the crap out of yourself.
And that's a huge problem. I see this a lot where businesses don't understand. So, jumping back to this logo up here, right? That 80-20 is 80% of your profits come from 20% of your clients. And if you don't know who that 20% is, then you're going to do exactly what you guys are talking about, which is I have to take this $1 million deal, not realizing that I will actually lose out. I will lose money on every single hour that I put into this guy, because they will never be satisfied because they don't match what I actually do. They want an outcome that I can't actually provide.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's so well said.
That is a lose-lose endeavor, right? Right? You waste your time and don't win, that's a loss. You win the business, completely devalue yourself and waste all your team time, that's a loss, right? Like garbage. Don't do
There
that.
were a bunch of space movies that came out recently. I don't know if it's because of like allowable timelines and that kind of stuff, freedom of information, but one of the things that I always get reminded of when you see that stuff is from day one, they're focused on how do we get these guys back, right? It's about the return flight, not just getting to the moon. And I think that's one of those things that you start to see people hallucinate about when these deal sizes are sitting in front of you. And you just think about the cause and not the effect, I think.
I agree with that, and I think that the other part of this is that there, and I don't typically get too woo-woo with stuff like this, but I think that in this case it matters, like this scarcity mindset that goes along with things where it's like, if I don't get this $1 million deal, I don't know if another one will come along. And it's like, yeah, but if you completely screw the pooch on this $1 million deal, I can guarantee another one won't come along.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think that there's that aspect. So, tying this back into the original premise of why do these high intent prospects, these big deals, why do we lose these big deals? Well, I think it comes down to really a couple of things, right? The first one is we don't know who our customers are or what they want. So like we don't have a deep enough understanding of our customer. The second one, and that can be from a sales, a marketing, or a product perspective. The second one is that we have this scarcity mindset, and I lost the third one. It'll come to me, but I think that those are kind of these fundamental problems that businesses have to wrestle with. Is I don't know who is actually buying or why they're buying from me, and I don't want to take the time to figure it out.
The other side of the scarcity mindset's also a thing I've seen in business, right? Unreasonable expectations based on, call them market-driven abnormalities, right? Do we lose Zach?
No.
All right.
I'm
so,
here.
Okay.
Let's get this back.
Jacob just doesn't like looking at us.
There.
So
That was me.
market-driven abnormalities. We had like COVID happened, right? Right. Some companies that I used to work for had big spike in sales due to sale of test kits. Right. All of a sudden, that division is up like 60% year over year. Let's do our forecast, right? Go get me another 20. Well, that's not a real 60%. You can't bet on the next COVID, right? You can't know everything. Like, that's lying to yourself. That's a fake big deal, right? A hurricane that you benefit from and gain a whole bunch of electrical utility work, that's a fake big deal, right? Like, it's separate your run rate organic growth or your acquisition growth from your kind of happy accident, right?
Yeah.
Not all big deals are real credible, legit big deals.
Yeah, I like that, because I think that if you look at it, the big deal should be something that can be proven sustainable or that can be leveraged to be sustainable. I know a guy who he was originally in commercial electrical work. It was technically residential, but it was new build electrical work. And they got a deal. It was the biggest deal they'd ever seen. It was $3 million. And he brought all these people on to do the job. And he says, okay, I can retire now, or I can leverage this money now and swap into doing residential electrical work and build a company. He ended up building a $100 million company off of that $3 million. Right. So when we talk about big deals, like that's what we're meaning. It's something that can be leveraged as a springboard to get bigger. But if it's just like a one time, it's not a big deal.
Right.
That's really well said, and it actually preempts magnificently where mine was going, which is reverse engineering. Right? Because again, like that's that whole cause and effect thing, or the space analogy I brought up earlier, is even just that idea of like, how much fuel do you need to return home? And like the whole process of working from that end game should help you understand the potential cost of saying yes to this big deal that you mentioned, Rob, right? Like, or the long-term cost of saying yes to a really bad big deal that could put you in a hole that you don't ever dig yourself out of.
If it consumes all your production capacity for the next year, are you going to take on that customer and piss off every other customer?
Yeah.
Right? Are you going to forfeit all your delivery times to 99 customers in the interest of one?
I was speaking with somebody a little while ago who, he's a small office kind of solopreneur scenario, but he went through that. He bought lead generation services and didn't know what he was getting into. Hired basically an SDR, and that person got him 6 clients just at the end of August. And he was like, I was dead till December, like 60-hour work weeks. It killed me. He's like, don't bring that to me or sell that thing, or because we're talking about more like the operational side of the business, but
right.
It was more than a year later, and you could still see the stress from that last experience.
Yeah, and here's the thing that I wonder about with that SDR, right? Because this is where the interplay of product sales and marketing really comes in. Yeah. Because when I talked earlier about sales qualification, right? Making sure that you understand who your customers are and why they buy, it's something that we do wrong a lot. Mm-hmm. But it's honestly one of the top reasons why these people are walking away, because they get in deep into this sales process, right? Deeper than they should, to be quite honest. And you're left there and you finally come out, like you finally say, no, this is the outcome that we create. These are the criteria that you have to match to create this outcome. And they say, oh, that wasn't me at all. Why the heck did we spend 3 months trying to figure this out, right? Like, a lot of times it's just this qualification aspect, and this is where the sales and the marketing and the product sort of need to have this meeting of the minds here, because what sales says a product can do is often not the same as what marketing or product will sell a product can do, and what marketing says a product can do is often not the same as what the other two say, and so I was talking with a prospect just a couple of days ago, and they had a product, and marketing was saying one thing. So they're struggling with customer retention. They're struggling closing these big deals. And as I was talking with them, I said, okay, give me some time. I went and read every review the company ever had, good, bad, indifferent. And one of the things that came out was in one good review, and this stood out to me, and then I started seeing it over and over and over again. They said, this product will do this very specific thing for you. And as I looked at the product, I was like, the product can't do that. Like, there's no way the product can do that. It was basically promising, we'll close more sales for you. And I was like, there's no way the product can do that. So you've got marketing that's making this promise, right? Because it's being talked about in this positive review. Marketing and sales making this promise that product absolutely can't deliver on. And they were wondering why their customer retention was so high and why their sales was sort of plateaued. Well, it was plateaued because people aren't stupid, right? They understand, oh yeah, this isn't doing what it says it can do.
Yeah.
And then they walk away.
Right.
And it's this qualification problem. And it's this aspect of communicating clearly in language that the customer cares about, but that isn't misleading, right? This is what we do. This is the outcome we create for you.
Yeah, I would almost take it a step further and say that sure, they can come in as a market qualified lead, and then of course it's the conversion process that makes them a qualified lead, but nurture, the thing that happens in the middle, is actually a disqualification process.
Right.
Right? The more educated you get, the clearer you are on what it does not do.
Right. And let's talk about marketing versus sales qualified leads, because this is really important and a lot of people don't understand this. There is a difference. There's a difference between a lead, a marketing qualified lead, and a sales qualified lead. 3 categories. A lead is I can pay 10,000 names on a lead list right now. Right? That's a lead. A marketing qualified lead is anyone who raises their hand and says, yeah, you know, I could learn more. A sales qualified lead is someone who says, I have a problem. I have a budget to fix it. I have a timeline to fix it. And I'm the person who can say yes or no. That's a sales qualified lead. And so, you know, if you are not creating, like you talk about, Jacob, this disqualification funnel, then your sales team's going to really be pissed off at marketing, because marketing is going to throw a bunch of disqualified leads. It's garbage in, garbage out, and sales is going to hate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to have more of a lead criteria than do they have a heartbeat?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is something that I think, as we talk about, you know, why these things are going the way they are, a lot of times we tend to just blame sales and say, well, if sales was better at their job, right? Mm-hmm. No, sales is actually probably doing a better job than you give them credit for, because they aren't closing these garbage leads. If they are closing these garbage leads, then you have churn out the wazoo. And then you're saying, oh, well, it's sales' fault. Okay, well, yeah, that probably is sales' fault. But again, you're putting pressure on sales. Marketing is delivering poor quality leads. And marketing is delivering poor quality leads because they don't understand the customer. They don't understand the outcomes because product hasn't properly educated them. And so there's like this sort of great big circle of life thing going on in these businesses.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because one of the things that I think gets missed, I don't want to put a percentage on it, most of the time, is that the money in a business, the scaling in a company, the thing that actually grows it is lifetime value, right? The post-transaction stuff. And so many people are lost on the concept that the transaction is the starting point and not the finish line. And that, I think, in the end costs so much. I think it's why we have that, like, 9 out of 10 businesses fail, and like whatever it is for year 1, year 5, year 7, year 10, those numbers don't change a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think it's an unfortunate thing, but people do not understand that aspect. Mm-hmm. And so it often works to their detriment. Mm-hmm. And it's why so many businesses fail.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it is a very complex sort of tapestry. right? Like sales working with marketing, working with product is really difficult to do because who's in charge of it? Who really has responsibility for that? Is it sales? Well, sales can't tell marketing what to do, nor can they tell product what to do. Is it product? Well, I mean, you can have a product-led organization, but then sales and marketing have really crappy copy because they focus on technical aspects.
Yeah.
If it's marketing, then you don't really have a company, you just have an idea. And people are constantly playing catch up to sell, to deliver on an idea that marketing had, right? And so you have this sort of a problem that is huge for organizations, but it's like, how do I actually get my hands around this? How do I actually take ownership of this? And frankly, there are only two ways to do it, right? One is that the CEO has to put on their big boy pants and go and solve this problem. And I say that kind of derogatorily, like I get it. They're incredibly busy, right?
Yeah.
Being a CEO is a lot of work. And they've got a lot on their plate. They have big deals that they're trying to bring across the finish line themselves most of the time. So it's very difficult. But at the same time, no one else has that purview. So the CEO can say, all right, I've got to just work 120 hours a week instead of 80 hours a week. Or the CEO has to say, I need to bring someone outside into this organization and give them the support and the signet ring to get things across the finish line, right? Like, because otherwise it's just not going to get done. And I have seen way too many organizations that have just floundered because they cannot solve this problem, and they either stagnate or die.
Absolutely. So how do we solve this?
Hire me.
One of the factors, go ahead.
I would say on a tactical level, I would start by doing a client profitability analysis. That's where I would start, right? And I'm talking about using activity-based costing, which sounds odd, particularly if you're a SaaS or a B2B sort of context, but it's absolutely vital. Because from that client profitability analysis using activities-based costing, you will understand who are the 20% of my clients that are generating 80% of the revenue.
100%. And to put a strategic bookend on there and lean on a book, I would go back, it's probably 15 years old now, but Dan Pink touched on this in a book that he wrote where he just basically said every single member of your company is part of your sales team. And it's a great place to start wrapping your head around this, because I think if you don't have that cross communication, then you're lacking that understanding that you're talking about, Zach. And it's the easiest thing in the world to pick on, but how siloed marketing and sales can be, especially if you're a smaller organization and you do out-of-house marketing and in-house sales. Like there's pretty much that rift is guaranteed, because there's a wall that they're literally in a different building, working for a different company, doing different things.
Yeah, and I think that is a huge problem that a lot of firms sort of face. They have a CMO, right? Someone who is responsible for marketing, but oftentimes they outsource that responsibility, not for the strategy per se, but mostly for the tactical implementation.
Yeah.
And because they have an in-house CMO, the benefit is that you've got someone on the team, even if it's a fractional, they should be at least, 10 hours a week in your team. So you've got someone on the team that can still liaise between you and the other company. But you've got someone who can actually get things done and renew that alignment, that understanding. Like, this is why our customers are hiring us, this company, to get things done. This is the outcome they're creating. So this is the messaging that you need to be focused on. We know that this stuff is the messaging that you should be focusing on, because we've pulled it from, we've done hours and hours, at least 10 hours of customer interviews. And we understand that this is the outcome they're trying to create. And this is the outcome that we can create for them. And so that's what you have to be orienting our sales and marketing on, because our 20% that generates the 80% of our profit, right? This is what they're talking about. This is what they say matters.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point. And I'm going to see your 10 and raise you. Like, I've got more than one mentor, and something that one of them gave me years back that I enacted last year in Q3, Q4 was a series of 50 1-hour interviews. So we scraped our entire CRM, people who bought and stayed, people who bought and left, people who didn't buy at all. And I just asked my team, I want to talk to all of them. But those interviews were so informative. They told me everything to do for this calendar year.
Right.
I cannot express the value of those 50 hours or the growth that's resulted from it.
And I want to be clear, there's a difference between just having a conversation with someone and having a structured approach, which I assume is how you went into this, right? Like, you had a very structured approach. And a lot of people, right, and a lot of people don't know how to structure these interviews to get the full benefit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't, because it's uncomfortable, because you have to face that, oh shoot, my fly was down, I had a booger hanging out my nose, I farted. Like, you have to face that, and that can be really depressing.
It will at least be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah. So I think that's maybe one of the pieces for takeaways today is there's going to be some discomfort, right? Whether it's internal and like you're having that hard conversation between sales and marketing, whether it's that leadership thing of like, well, what the heck's actually happening between a lead coming in and somebody buying, and all that, front end pre-transaction funnel stuff. Never mind all of that post-transaction where, again, a lot of those interviews and a lot of that time really should be spent. And I would highly recommend to go out there and find 5 people who don't do business with you anymore and call them up and be like, listen, I'd really like to get an hour of your time. I'll bribe you in any way that you tell me is necessary, but here's a bunch of questions that I need answers to, because you probably don't know why you're not doing business with them anymore.
Yeah. And understanding their journey should be part of that interview process. Understanding the journey of, when did you realize you had a problem that your current option wasn't solving? How did you discover us? Mm-hmm. Right? When you discovered us, what were the other options that you were weighing? When you chose us, who were you picking against? And, what were the trade-offs that you were making? And then what did you expect the first time you actually encountered or experienced our product or service? How did we meet those expectations? How did we not meet those expectations? And then when did you realize, if this is a client who's no longer with you, when did you realize that we weren't able to solve your problem?
Yeah, those are great. Rewind this and write those questions down.
Or hire me.
Or hire Zach. I had a conversation with a guy a little while back who had a successful exit and has now moved into more of a consultative thing. And I dropped one of my jokes, right? Which is like, when I'm in charge, companies are going to have to publish the amount of idle accounts they have on the footer of their website. And, I was talking more about digital products, and somebody reminded me that gyms should do it too. But what I noticed is, when I mentioned that to him, he was like, that was never possible in my company. If we saw that, I picked up the phone, called the user, and said, what's going on? And either walked them through how to actually use the tool, or, we exited them from it. And, it's landed so much in the back of my mind of like, that's what somebody who knows how to win the game looks like. Like, that's why he had a successful exit, is he just would not give up on a customer.
Right.
I've had too many, call them handoffs, where the salesperson who should have owned the relationship just disappeared. And just having a quarterly or semi-annual call periodically, right, to check in. And these were specifically SaaS purchases, right? If sales owns the relationship with the customer, sales should own the relationship with the customer. Even after you hand it off to ops, implementation, configuration, right? Ding to ding to ding to ding. The go get it done team.
Yeah.
Back in. How's it going? Right? What would turn that, what you just said, into one grade higher, right? Like, what can we do? What other parts of the team do I need to bring to bear to support you? Right? Like, the other thing that came to mind as you guys were talking was, there's a certain size of deal where it's a great point of diligence to just talk to ops about their capacity to deliver, their alignment and agreement. Because if it demands the purchase of machinery, capital investment, and like, if we're going to do this and buy a building, right, the risk and the sustainability, like, get ops at the table. Do not sell a sale equal to your entire annual revenue.
Or without 5 new hires.
Right? Yeah. And like, I've been in businesses that did it, and thankfully they did it the right way. Had everyone at the table talk through what it would mean, what the risks were, right? Do we really want to do this? Is it the right risk for the business? Can we afford to take this risk, this gamble? Right? And then ops had to deliver. Yeah. Right? And sales had to go back to the customer and say, guess what, guys? Blanket order, 3-year delivery plan. How about that?
Right. That is such an important point, Rob. And I think that's where I was leaning on the reverse engineering, but I wasn't clear to the level that you're at. Like, it may be $1 million deal, but 5 new hires could eat half of that. Right. And you have the fact that they need to be trained up, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to be so cognizant of the risks that you're taking by saying yes to what you think the win is versus the actual commitment to deliverability. Never mind the cost, the commitment.
Right.
Yeah. Really good point.
Could I scale landscaping very quickly? Yeah. Could I scale really complex, high transformation manufacturing and assembly very quickly?
No.
Nope. Right? Complexity matters.
100%.
Well, and sometimes I think that the question needs to be, should I? Not just can I, but should I?
Right.
Right? Like, if I'm working in a landscaping company, I can scale, but should I scale? Because once you reach a certain point in certain business models, like, it doesn't matter what you do, you're capped out. There's no way to grow. Landscaping is an example of that. And so it's like, okay, I need to be very clear about, is this the model that I want to take? Knowing, yes, I can change the model halfway through, but is it something that I actually want to have to deal with? Is changing the model and the customer churn that's going to happen as a result of that. So I think that that's another thing that people need to be cognizant of.
I'm almost laughing because I had this experience in high school of working for a landscaping firm. And it was very high-end work, and the guy had scaled too quickly and got these high-end clients that were so high-end that he felt obligated to show up. And because of the showing up side of it, we basically went to 4 different sites and spent minutes there, right? Because all the equipment had to go into the truck, the crew had to move over there, you had to unpack, you had to do almost nothing, right? By putting a face to those different locations on a frequency that didn't get any work done. And so high touch, low volume of work, but there was this expectation that had been set that you're going to see the crew there every single day. That I think it just obviously hurt the business in the long run. We spent most of our time unloading, loading, and driving.
Right.
Oh, geez.
Right.
But yeah, you just reminded me of that. And having lived in it, it was crazy to see how much time we wasted and how little work we got done.
Well, and I think you're spot on there. And I think that as well, like some SaaS models have this problem as well. Mm-hmm. If you can't get people to buy your product out the gate, then your value proposition isn't clear enough. And freemium models just don't work. They just don't. I'm sorry, they don't work. Anyone who's trying a freemium model, stop. It won't work. At least not in the long run and not to the scale that you are wanting it to. And so, there are all sorts of business models that are fine. They're great. You just have to understand what is the outcome that you want from that business model. And, again, understanding what is the outcome that your customers want from you and your company, from the products and services that you solicit. Like that's all a part of this.
And SaaS too, just to pick on it for a minute, having had the experience myself, it can be an incredibly hyper-functional product, but because of the way that it's marketed and sold, to get it functionally set up, it's 22 hours of onboarding labor.
Yep.
Absolutely. And so it's like there is that give and take and knowing who your customer is and then saying, okay, our customers actually want that 22 hours of onboarding time because they want to be experts in the project, in the product when they're done versus, yeah, our customers just want it to run right out of the box. And so, we need to recognizing the difference between those two is like, to me, recognizing the difference between people who like vanilla chocolate and vanilla ice cream and people who like chocolate ice cream.
Mm-hmm. And
right,
don't
because
sell them a muffin because
right,
that's what that SaaS experience is like.
Right. Or right, if they want chocolate ice cream, if they want the 22 hours of input to set it up, sell them that. Mm-hmm. But recognize that there's also a market out here for people who want something that's out the door. Now, the functionality is going to be completely tied down, but they don't need all of these bells and whistles. And so you have a separate product here that you could potentially sell, but now it means that you have to go back to the drawing board to understand the differences between those two people, because it's not as simple as, oh, well, this one wants this and that one wants that. It's not, never, not as simple ever, ever, ever. Just not.
Just thinking of the software sales that don't just require 22 hours onboarding, but like you have to hire 6 developers as FTEs, right? 6 times 2080. You need like 12 hours per year developers to keep the school bus software running. And It's wild. Just wild, the entrenchment of that, right? Like, how hard is it to sell that bus and replace it with a better car, right?
Mhm.
Well, and now you've got, I'll give you an example of this. You've got some factories that have remaindered technology that is running on like COBOL coding,
Right.
and no one knows COBOL. And so if you know COBOL, you're making money hand over fist, helping these factories like transition off of their COBOL system. So
we had terribly embarrassing stuff, right? I worked at a company that was front end modern, selling scientific equipment, back end running AS400 monochrome screens, and we had to
geez,
our developers from Russia,
Right.
like what?
You got to go find the Rosetta Stone to
Right. Right. I'm like, SQL backend, bro. Come on, we can do better. Like, it's not that hard.
Oh, that's amazing.
ERP this damn thing. Let's get it done. Oh, yes, Vasily, I understand you understand AS400. I get it. I get it. Like, that's not the point. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
I'm sorry we don't have any borscht, right?
Yes.
Like, we drug you out of your homeland to do this. Have a hot dog. Chicago.
Have a hot dog? We're the country, they got hot dogs.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's so, know what the hell you're getting into and know when it's time to move. I'm staring at a potential customer's website right now, right? Like, and the developer's name's at the bottom, right? That's their big deal. Why are they going to lose it? Because they didn't do a good job. It hasn't been updated since 2022.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's on brand, but it's not customer focused, right? Like, yay color palette, boo messaging.
Yes.
You're going to lose that big deal.
Yeah, 100%.
Complaint from the customer. My revenues declined by 50% in the last 3 years. We got you, man. We're going to help you unscrew that and take back your position.
Remarkable.
Right.
Anything else as we start to wrap this up? Closing thoughts or key takeaways?
I would say, be aware of that interplay between sales, marketing, and product. And the likelihood is that you're probably going to have to pull someone out. Just unless you're a CEO who's only working like 10 hours a week, which, I've never met that mythical unicorn. You're probably going to need to bring someone in from outside. So, don't be afraid to do that, because I think it will pay dividends in the long run. And focus on getting that tactile understanding, that very clear 20% who drive 80% of your profits.
Yeah. And this isn't a plug for Zach in particular, but when you pull that person in, hire the one that says they do want to talk to your customers.
Yes.
Because that has the impact on your lifetime value.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. And for those of you who are with us now or watching the recordings or any of that stuff, appreciate you as well. And have a fantastic, this is a Thursday. Who knows when we're going to see it.